Thank you very much for the introduction. I'll try to be shorter than 20 minutes because there are many more interesting presentations and speeches than mine. But first of all, I would like to thank Minister Chudars and Director General Antenina not only for the invitation to me and the European Commission to attend this very important conference, but also for the very inspiring speeches and introductions this morning. Indeed, it's really a pleasure for me to be here with all of you and those that are connecting and following us online on this project, and be here in Riga and this wonderful city and country. Indeed, this live IP project, Latvia Nature, is at its halfway point and has already achieved a great deal, and we're looking forward to celebrating those achievements in the coming days with all of you while looking forward to what's next. The project demonstrates the impact and strength of public-private partnership for better results for nature. We're all part of nature. This is reflected by the fact that it was a finalist of the Natura 2000 award from 2024 in the category of Working Together for Nature. It was one of the best projects identified at European level. And this is inspiring other projects, other people in the private and public organizations. This project comes at an opportune and crucial time in view of our targets under the EU Biodiversity Strategy and the Global Biodiversity Framework for 2030. And with the implementation of the Nature Restoration Regulation well underway, we just celebrated 1 year of the entry into force of the regulation in August this year. So, this means that we have 5 years ahead of us to put in place the urgent measures to achieve our global and EU biodiversity targets. And not for the sake of these targets, but for our own survival on this planet, as all scientists have told us that we have only a window of 5 to 10 years to prevent an irreversible biodiversity and climate crisis. And not to save the planet, but to keep the planet as a livable place for all us humans, because the planet will survive very well without the humans, but the humans cannot survive without nature and a climate that is livable for us. But the good news is that we have a great opportunity ahead of us for concrete action. The development of national restoration plans under the Nature Restoration Regulation. This will be developed at national level, targeted to the national nature and climate challenges, to put in place the necessary measures to restore degraded ecosystems, mitigate climate change, and increase the resilience of our territories to the more and more frequent disasters caused by the changing climate. Another good news is that we don't start from scratch. We have at least 20 years of knowledge and experience in the implementation of the Birds and the Habitats Directive, of the implementation of the Water Framework Directive, of the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, and the climate legislation and the LULUCF regulation. We have all the needed data. We know which are degraded ecosystems that are not able to provide us their ecosystem services. We know what the restoration measures are to be put in place. We know that we have to strengthen the biodiversity and the resilience of our agriculture and forest ecosystems for them to be productive in the future. We have programmed the EU funds and the national funds under the cohesion policy and the CAP strategic plans, where big shares of these funds are programmed to restore biodiversity and reduce carbon emissions. And of course, we have the LIFE project like this one that is helping us translating all this knowledge into concrete actions and measures for nature. The Nature Restoration Regulation represents the missing piece of the puzzle that will allow us to build the synergies in the implementation of this long standing legislation, linking these directives directly with climate change mitigation and adaptation policy. Because, as President von der Leyen often says, nature is our best ally in the fight against climate change. In particular, the Birth and Habitats Directive and the Nature Restoration Regulation are tightly interconnected and mutually reinforcing. The connections between them are essential to ensuring the success of the Nature Restoration Regulation. For example, the conservation measures identified for all Natura 2000 sites will play a big role in identifying restoration needs to be reflected in the national restoration plans in each of the member states. And the priority restoration of habitats that delivers the most in terms of climate mitigation and adaptation is another element of the synergies built within this regulation. But it's also the way that it's developed. The monitoring and reporting of the new regulation is entirely built on a digital tool that will reuse in a simple and cost-effective manner all the data collected in the monitoring and reporting of the Birds and the Habitats Directive, of the Water Framework Directive, and the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. The Nature Restoration Regulation has built in its structure significant flexibility to fit specific challenges at national level. For instance, in relation to peatland restoration, the compatibility with the development of renewable energy or defense needs. This proves that all these objectives are not incompatible. On the contrary, with an appropriate land use and maritime spatial planning, these different objectives can and should be pursued together. And because nature restoration increases the resilience of our forests, agriculture, and coastal ecosystems and communities, these are measures that increases the resilience of our economy and our society to climate change and natural disasters. We have seen how tragic major floods and drought and wildfires can be for landowners, citizens, and many businesses in various parts of Europe, from Spain to Poland, and lately just this summer. So the Nature Restoration Regulation presents really a massive opportunity for all of us to restore nature and degraded ecosystems. However, this also means that there is an important task and challenge for all of us in implementing this piece of legislation, because an ambitious and effective national restoration plan can only be built with the active and committed engagement of all stakeholders: NGOs, farmers, foresters, businesses, hunters, fishers, landowners, municipalities, and citizens at large. There should be a commitment to work on this jointly, identifying together the most effective measures and sharing the related efforts for the common good. And today's event is the living proof that the strong cooperation among different stakeholders can make great things. There is an amazing collection of success stories in the publication put together for this event. And you are a representative of this collaboration, these success stories. In this context, private landowners in particular can play a central role to the achievement of the full ambition of the Nature Restoration Regulation. This is something that Latvia Nature clearly recognizes by upscaling voluntary engagement in conservation of forest and grassland through voluntary contract for nature conservation with private landowners. With the engagement of private landowners comes the need for proper recognition. Increasingly, there is a growing business case for private sector engagement in nature, recognizing and rewarding the work done by landowners, farmers, and foresters to maintain and improve sustainability and biodiversity. That is one of the reasons why the Commission published its roadmap towards nature credit in July this year, to facilitate the development of high-integrity tools by ensuring that private investment lead to real benefits for nature. But we need to go step by step to ensure a robust and credible scheme that the market can take up. And we know that there are a lot of private companies that want to invest in improving the nature in the communities in which they operate and where their customers and their employees work and live. And the upcoming Business and Biodiversity Summit that will take place in a few days in Helsinki, where our Commissioner and our Director General will attend, is another example, another opportunity where we can discuss with businesses and we see their commitment to nature and biodiversity. And together with the traditional public funding, innovative sources will be private streams that can have a valuable supplement. We need to engage with a wide variety of stakeholders to achieve the objectives of the nature restoration regulation. That is why those that are on the front lines of nature stewardship should be celebrated and rewarded for their contributions to nature. And the innovation and cooperation that this particular project has demonstrated is really invaluable. So I thank you again for your attention. I thank you again for your work and hard work and your commitment. And I wish you all the best for the REACH program that we have ahead with the discussion today, the excursion, and the other activities that were described. Thank you again.